hear you. Hello, hello.
Hello, welcome. Ilia has a lot of formal titles. He's founder of Longevity Nation Israel Conference, chairman of VTech Association. He's a board member of International Longevity Alliance. And importantly, he's a scholar, researcher. He has written several books about longevity and more than 70 scientific papers. And the main topics are very interesting, in my opinion, and very important. It's longevity advocacy, meaning how do we make more people doing longevity. And very interesting, he is probably one of the only researchers of history of longevity. And today, why I really like Ilya joining us, because he has been in the movement for several decades. Most of us are here for I'm in longevity for 10 years, and Ilya was already a veteran at the time I joined. And like many of us are in the industry for like 3, 5, 6 years, but Ilya has a very extensive experience, and I want him to share it with us. So please welcome Ilya.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alexei. Let me share my screen. Indeed, I'm as old as time itself in the longevity movement. This is my book, History of Life Extensionism. I do look at the movement historically and try to see some of the historical trend, and I see we're growing. So that's one positive message from my talk already. We're growing. I've been involved or thinking about this topic since I was very young, even child. But I've been involved, intensely. I would say even full time since the beginning of this century. Can you say, already 25 years ago? And I see how the movement is growing. When we started, there was almost no discussions about intervention into aging or life extension, health life extension. There were some discussions, but people mostly kept it to ourselves. Now it's everywhere. It's in the media, in the government, everywhere. So our movement is growing. We're happy, but not growing fast enough. We need to accelerate it. So when we speak about advocacy, what do we actually mean? Advocacy is another word of saying education. You have to explain to people why this is important, especially decision makers, but also the general public. Explain why we believe that life extension, health life extension is possible, how it is possible. And basically the idea, the goal is to make them work for this goal. If they realize that it is possible and desirable for us as individuals, for us as a society, they should put some efforts, put some resources toward this goal. That's the idea of our advocacy. And more specifically, as a longevity movement, we advocate for extension of health and longevity, for the prevention of multiple age-related diseases. And the basic idea is that if we really want to extend health and longevity, prevent multiple age-related diseases, we need to intervene into the main underlying cause of all these diseases, and that is the aging process. Sounds trivial, but the next step, the idea that we need to actually intervene or treat aging as a medical condition is not trivial for many people. That's also our goal as advocates to inculcate this idea, to explain, to educate people about its importance. But generally, I'm very happy that we've been quite successful. And I'm happy that also thanks to our advocacy, also organizations that I represent, like International Longevity Alliance and Biogerontology Research Foundation, aging is already included into the International Classification of Diseases as a medical condition, as something that you can treat medically under two codes. One in the symptomatic set as an aging associated decline in intrinsic capacity, and another in the etiology or causality set as aging-related condition. So basically, already now we can address aging as a medical condition according to the International Classification of Diseases, and that was done thanks to advocacy. I'm not saying mostly ours, but there are also others, maybe some of the people we don't even know within the system, but it's already recognized as a medical condition, and that's thanks to advocacy. That's the role of advocacy. And it is feasible task It is possible to intervene into aging to prevent multiple age-related conditions. There are several well-known classifications of the main aging processes, like strategies for engineering negligible senescence, hallmarks of aging, the pillars of aging of the NIH Neuroscience Interest Group. And the main idea that there are several major aging processes, and for each process, there are proven feasibility of intervention in animal models, but also some emerging clinical human trials that show that, yes, it is possible to intervene into aging to prevent multiple age-related conditions, to extend health longevity. Now it is our goal, also as advocates, as activists, to help bring these researchers, bring these studies from the lab to the clinic, from the bench to the bedside, as they say. And that is also a social task, not just a scientific task, but also a task for the society to improve regulation, to improve public acceptance, to improve compliance. That's also a task of advocacy. Now, that's not an easy task. We still need to do a lot of policy research, regulation research. What is it exactly that we mean by intervention into aging? How do we even measure aging? There is no agreed definition of aging in clinical terms. There's no agreed definition, no agreed set of metrics of aging or evaluation criteria for aging, not just as a predictor for future health, but also as a means to evaluate the efficacy of anti-aging treatments. And these evaluation criteria are very much needed. On the one hand, to promote, to stimulate and prioritize treatments that do work, that do address aging deterioration and hopefully prevent disease. On the other hand, to weed out all the snake oil the treatments that do nothing but just make impressions. In this story of the field, I can tell you that there's been no shortage of charlatanry in the field, promises that were never kept. So we do need scientific-based criteria to evaluate aging, to evaluate intervention to aging, and that will be a vast area of policy research and regulation research. And even is a massive movement. We need this kind of discussion. We don't want to be like a mindless horde of people who go on the street yelling "aging kills." We actually need to be thoughtful people. Yes, we can go on the streets as advocates, as activists, but after that we go back to our research groups and actually think how we can develop therapies that will work on people, that will not end just by yelling in the street. It is a part of a massive social and political and scientific debate. And also as advocates, as activists, we need to explain to people, especially who are not yet in the longevity field, that it's even a worthy task. When I entered the field, let's say 30 years ago, you would encounter all the time, aging is natural, and the people have to die, and they have to free resources. We'll have overpopulation, and we have boredom if people live longer and healthier. God forbid, any person you would talk with basically would raise the same argument. So you have to convince them, that actually better be rich and healthy than sick and poor, as they say in Russian. But now I see much less of that. Now people are realizing more and more that yes, health and longevity extension is feasible, and it is a worthy social and humanitarian task. Still, we need to explain basically why is this a worthy task, why we need to invest intellectual and material resources into it, because pretty much all the values, all the ethical imperatives that we have correlate with health and longevity extension. So if anybody asks why are we focusing on longevity, aren't there enough other problems in the world, we can simply answer that longevity is a good proxy, good driver for all the other human values, as it correlates with valuation of life, with peacefulness, education, economic prosperity, safety, equality, whatever area of human development we want to advance, we want to promote, we will need to extend health and longevity. That's why health and longevity is kind of a general unifying idea for human progress, at least at this time. And even in purely economic terms, we need to understand that extending health and longevity will bring huge economic benefits for individuals and for the entire society. On the negative side, we see that we are not able to find effective life extending and anti-aging treatments soon enough, our society can very much collapse. Our healthcare welfare system are in danger. We saw it during COVID, a disease that mainly affected all the people, brought us to our knees, brought us to the brink of an existential crisis. And that's just a small sign of what can happen if we are not able to treat aging in time. On the positive side, if we are able to treat aging, if you are able to extend health longevity, we can save our healthcare welfare, free resources for further economic developments. So obviously, a hugely important social task. And it's also our task as advocates, as educators, also to decision makers to explain, especially to decision makers, that yes, also in economic terms, we need to invest in this field. We need to prioritize it, so we can all benefit from the positive side and avoid the negative outcomes. As Alexei also mentioned, I've been quite involved in this area. Yes, I have over 70 academic papers and 2 books, but my main occupation, I would say, is activism per se. I'm involved in several longevity organizations like International Longevity Alliance, the International Society on Aging and Disease. Here in Israel, it's VETIC, the Movement for Longevity and Quality of Life. And like any social movement, we engage in policy and development and advice, advocacy, activism. Some of our actions, of our campaigns, were the Longevity Month campaign that especially the International Longevity Alliance has been running for about 12 years, since 2013. Basically, the idea is to unite in a joint action at a particular time during October, on the 1st of October. And it's a very powerful community building tool. And also we organize conferences like the Longevity Nation conference that we just had in Israel, despite everything. And it was also a very powerful community building tool. In my advocacy and experience, I find that organizing conferences and just meetups is a very effective tool for community building, for raising awareness, for motivating people, and also at a very low cost. So that's probably the main, the best means available to us. But of course, also publication. It's not just enough to gather together. It's also important to produce publications, like the recent publications we did specifically for Israel, advocating for enhancing longevity ecosystem in Israel, and also in cooperation with others, developing policies for health longevity. Now also collecting a volume specifically on policies for health longevity that will hopefully also influence our outreach as advocates. And the idea is basically everybody can be involved in this kind of advocacy. First of all, everybody can be involved in the longevity field, just studying more about the field, just simply learning some of the science of longevity. You become an advocate. You yourself become interested. You get others interested. You increase the snowball, the synergy. And now you see, I have to go to aircraft intrusion. See, we're talking about longevity, but it's a bit of a dangerous situation here. In Rishon LeZion, would be okay if I get back to you in 5 minutes, because I really have to go to shelter by law. I'm required. Is it okay, Alexei?
Hey, Ilia.
Hi, I'm back from the shelter. Sorry about that.
No problem. We talked advocacy while you were in the shelter.
Yeah. So more motivation for us that longevity movement wins. So there will be no more wars, because in longevity movement we're all friends.
Couldn't agree more.
So shall I resume, or?
Yeah. Let's resume, and we'll have a short Q&A with you, and then finalize it.
Great. So let's resume. So as I was saying, no, sorry. As I was saying, everybody can be involved in the movement. So basically, longevity movement is a very unifying one. I actually have friends in Iran and Pakistan. Actually helped build the longevity communities there. I have no problem with anybody. Unfortunately, and people who are not in the longevity movement have problems with others. But once again, that's more motivation for us that our movement will really become the main social movement, and everybody can be involved by studying, by getting together, practicing a healthy lifestyle. And I would say that the main thing is the movement is to get together, to join like-minded people, like-minded organizations like International Longevity Alliance, that represent VETIC, American Federation for Aging Research, by gerontology, any longevity community. It's a very powerful it's a very powerful force when you join together with others to discuss, to encourage each other. And I'm happy to represent Longevity Alliance. Also speaking about the growth, we started this about 13 years ago in 2012. Actually, back then, longevity wasn't as much of a buzzword. So actually, thanks to Longevity Alliance, that really became widespread also on social media. And, I'm happy that ILA is now grown to 65 nonprofit organizations from 57 countries, including some of the major pro-longevity organizations. And I hope we continue to grow. And there are some results already from this advocacy. One is even back from 2017, when we organized a massive public campaign to include aging as a topic on the agenda of the WHO work program. Can you imagine? WHO didn't consider aging as an issue in global public health, and we made sure that it is included. They still don't consider it too important, but at least it's on the books. And I already mentioned the inclusion of aging as a medical condition, also thanks to our advocacy. I personally am very proud that I was probably one of the first to actually address this question at the high governmental level. I wrote to all the 120 members of the Knesset asking to recognize aging as a medical condition, as a disease, and then there were other initiatives. Now you see aging is included in the ICD, but still not enough. We still need to have some actual trials on aging. We don't have enough of this. Also because we don't have evaluation criteria, proper evaluation criteria that I mentioned earlier. And here in Israel, I'm finishing in 1 minute. Here in Israel, beside wars and running to shelter, we actually advanced policies for health and longevity. Our VETIC Association was able to include the topic of health and longevity, research, development, and education for health and longevity and prevention of age-related disease as a part of the Israel National Master Plan on Aging, advocating for increasing budget for the field, increasing education in the field, developing metrics for the field. And thanks to this involvement, there are issued several calls for research proposals that I also helped formulate and put to practice in Israel specifically, but also internationally. One of the most effective, one of the most successful, I would say, achievements of our advocacy was the so-called BIREX aging program, the Britain-Israel Research and Academic Exchange Partnership on Aging, basically for cooperation between Israel and Great Britain in aging research, where I had the honor to write the call for proposals. 300 labs submitted proposals with 150 joint projects. About 20 labs got funding, and now we're going to issue the third call for proposals. Also, BIREX program, we're part of our Longevity Nation conference. So that's an excellent example for international collaboration. And why am I emphasizing this? Because in the same way as we organized it between the UK and Israel, we can organize between Israel or any other country, or between any European country. And I'm speaking specifically. I know that at some of these meetings, there's some people with funds. So right now I'm searching for funding, for matching funding for a new program by the Israeli Ministry of Science. It's not a lot of money, but it can give a good push for international collaboration. So if you think you can have money for a joint call for research proposal with Israel, please talk with me. Also, we developed international internet platform, which is kind of try to digitize our advocacy and match people together. Increase the visibility, also important area. Obviously live meetings are important, but you also need to kind of have a whole picture, a whole map of the field for Israel specifically and elsewhere. And I will finish, because wars takes our time. I will finish by emphasizing the importance of collaboration in the field. Also, a vital part of our advocacy is to advocate for peaceful coexistence, for cooperation between any country, because obviously that's a goal that we all share. And once again, if this goal becomes mainstream, becomes really prioritized, all the other problems may be set aside. And also thank you for organizing this meeting. Also a contribution to building up our advocacy, our activism. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilia. We probably have time for 1 or 2 questions. Anyone? So, Ilia. Okay, I will ask one. Ilia, what do you think, during your advocacy, you tried a lot of various initiatives, and it might not have worked 10 or 20 years ago, and you kind of forgot about it, but it might work now. What do you think? Are there any initiatives we need to retry from what you tried and didn't work back then, and but it might work today?
We don't even need to go 20 years back. I would like to have several initiatives revived from just 2019. 2019 was an excellent year for longevity research and advocacy in Israel specifically. We had a national program that I mentioned, the National Master Plan on Aging, including topics on longevity research. We organized a massive conference in Weizmann Institute, whether in the NIH. We started a consortium to develop and standardize biomarkers of aging. We issued a call for proposals on health and longevity by the Ministry of Science. We really thought that we were going somewhere. So at least Israel would at least be on the forefront of this movement. And then, there was COVID and 5 elections in 3 years, and now the war for more than a year. So what I would really like to have is to go back to the initiative of 2019 and revive them, revive the National Master Plan on Aging, put out more calls for research proposals, more international collaborations. So actually, I'm not just hoping, I'm working for it. So our recent Longevity Nation was exactly for that, to revive those initiatives from 2019.
Yeah, for those who don't know, we are now living in a decade of healthy aging, which was done by WHO. So WHO designated to 2020 to 2030 a decade of healthy aging, but then everyone forgot about it because COVID happened. So we need to remind them, guys, we're still there. It's still 5 years left in a decade. And yeah, let's do that. Ping your people who work for WHO and remind them. Okay, Ilia, we have another quick question from Sasha. Sasha?
We were talking previously about drug development and the huge delays that we have in liberal democracies. How do you think we can advocate for shorter delays in drug development? And how can we also challenge the big pharma system with faster iterations and faster innovation in the liberal democracies?
Great question. So of course we all want to have this therapies fast. We cannot have them fast enough, because we are getting older and our parents are getting older. Cannot have them fast enough. On the other hand, we do want to have them safe. We don't want to have them effective. So it's a delicate balance. We have to understand, speed is one thing, and making sure that therapies actually work is another. And even if if you talk about longevity, how do you even prove that some treatments extend your longevity? You have to do longitudinal study that can take tens of years. You can use biomarkers and say, there's a good probability that they predict age-related disease, but there's no proof that they actually do. And actually, we can be ending up selling a lot of snake oil and preventive treatments that actually don't do anything for improving our healthy longevity for the long term. So it's a difficult question. That's why I'm not advocating for any specific step to accelerate anything. I'm advocating for more discussion, for more thought in this field. As I said, there'll be soon a new volume on the longevity research policies that I'm trying to collect, trying to make people think, how do we get around those obstacles? Because it's not easy. I wish, you know, we could all, you know, have the right to try, and I think we should have a right to try. But on the other hand, we should also have the right to know if things can work or not.
Thanks a lot, Ilia. Please, round of applause, everyone.